Alright, welcome back to Bad Guitar Player Demos. This is a reshoot of the video I released yesterday called What's on My Board, and we're looking at two different chorus pedals. And the goal of this is, hey, I've got a pedal board, I've got a bunch of different pedals. What's going to stay on this board specifically for my style? I'm going to give you my feedback on what I think about the two pedals. And which works best for me, but I'm going to give you some color commentary as we go. You should see the pedals right over here as I put them up, and I'll give you a view of the individual pedals themselves. We're looking at the Strymon Ola and the Walrus Audio Julia. The Strymon retails for about $300. The Julia is $200. So about a 50% price difference. Obviously used markets on both of these fluctuate a bit, but let's jump right into the sounds. We're going to use my Hugo Mermet thin line and my matchless amp, and here is the raw clean tone. I do have the Strymon Flint on, so the three pedals that are on right now on this board you are seeing in the camera. Alright, let's hear this with the Julia. Now let's hear the Strymon. Alright, the first thing to my ear is, again, the Strymon has a tone knob on it which allows me to kind of dial back the tone. I have it sort of at 1 o'clock right now, which I think is somewhere in the middle, but it does sound a little richer, a little smoother, less bright, however you want to look at it. And I play primarily chordal stuff. I will do a single note lick here in a little bit as we dial in some different tones and come back to this. But just right off the bat, the Strymon is a little warmer, especially with a very bright amp like the Matchless and a very bright guitar like what I'm working with now. So let's just kind of up the speed, rate, and depth on these and change them up. And again, this here is the Julia. And the Strymon. I think we're still getting some differences that are still there. I think, again, if I messed with that tone knob a little bit more, we would see that. Let's get us a full-on warble and things going on just to see how these sound if we kind of crank these up a bit. Start with the Julia. Alright, Strymon. Alright, now they've also got some mix knobs, which I'm going to roll this mix down to about halfway, and I'm actually going to roll that knob back a bit to put it more on the add in a little bit of the dry signal. And that's the Strymon, so we want to turn that off. Go back to the Alright, so the last thing I want to do is kind of put these back into a more subtle mode, which is again how I would typically use it. Put that back in the chorus position, bring that mix knob on this all the way back up. Alright, and now they're both off for like a clean single note riff. So again, if your amp doesn't have a great clean channel, using a chorus is a great way to help build your bass clean tone up itself. So like an example of this is a breaking Benjamin riff. This isn't going to be in the right key because this is tuned completely wrong for that. But we're going to take a look at that, just kind of how this sounds from a dry perspective, and then what it sounds like with a little bit of chorus. Alright, let's add in the Julia. And the Strymon. So in those settings, that sounded pretty similar to me. I'm going to have to listen back to this, obviously, from a recording perspective. But that single note stuff, these sounded really similar to me. So what this really comes down to, if you're making your decision about which chorus pedal you might be interested in, Julia's, literally $100 cheaper, has a few less features. It's a little brighter, so if you really want kind of an out front chorus, I think the Julia is more your speed regardless. Personally, I still think of the two, I prefer the Strymon, just because it gives me a little bit of a darker tone, which using this guitar, this amp, it's very bright, and being able to really mellow out that sound is something that's going to work really well for me. Leave your comments below, tell me which one you prefer, if you're using either one of them, what you think of them, and subscribe to this channel and keep following all the stuff that I'm doing here. So thanks, and have a wonderful evening, or day, or morning, or whenever you're watching this. Come back and see me again soon.